The Daily Cyber Briefing for Monday, the 11th of December. I'm Stephen Ridgway. Hope you all had a good weekend and raring to go for another week ahead. WordPress have released a patch or an update to fix a remote code execution flaw. So WordPress 6.4.2 addressed a security vulnerability that could be chained with another flaw to achieve remote code execution. So, as always with WordPress, worth keeping on top of patching. It is a complex modular solution, very functional, but also somewhat difficult to keep on top of all of the various patches and security configurations required, mainly because of the way that it works with like the combinations of plugins and other bits and pieces. But this is the core WordPress that needs to be updated. So recommend that you have a look and make sure it has updated itself, because even if you've set WordPress and plugins and so on to update, there are situations where they don't. Ones I've seen which have gone on silently in the background are where particular components licenses have expired, but they don't tell you, they just don't update, or situations where an update has got an update would break dependencies, which sometimes they upgrade and break. Sometimes they look at it and go, no, that's going to break, and doesn't upgrade. So it's a complex environment. Keep on top of your WordPress stuff. But WordPress 6.4.2 is the one to aim for right now. So sometimes it's good to revisit things that have been going on to see where we've got to. But in this particular case, it looks like we haven't got to where we need to be. So there's a nice, interesting article in HelpNet Security this morning. Cyber criminals continue targeting open remote access products. So I think it comes from some research done by WatchGuard. It does appear that there is still a tendency for attacking groups to use, well, in fact, there always will be, use simple ways in. So, if you have got your remote access solution on the internet and it's not patched and protected properly, expect it to be at least targeted, even if it's not compromised. So, I mean, if you've ever put a system, I don't even need to go to the extent of putting a honeypot on the internet. If you just put our system on the internet and look at what is thrown at it, it is extraordinary how fast things are identified, and the amount of mostly botnet related unstructured attacks that are just thrown around the internet. It's a vast amount of stuff, and if you spray enough attacks and enough things, eventually something will stick. So, which is sort of the approach that untargeted stuff does. So I would say have a read of the article. It does talk about some of the other vectors for attack as well. So looking at trends at the moment, and one of the interesting ones is network attacks are escalating, and malware being delivered over encrypted channels has seen a noticeable decline in Q3. So interesting article. However, I think the takeaway from this is if you've got remote access systems on the internet, make sure that they are protected. Do they really need to be on the internet? Is there any way you can tie them down via client VPN, whatever it might be, or are they just there by mistake? If they do have to be world accessible, put some protection in front of them. Make sure you keep them patched and hardened. Keep on top of it. Okay, and another interesting article that I came across today is actually from the Akamai site that talks about spoofing DNS records in a Windows environment. So, firstly, hands up, I'm not a Windows SME by any manner of means. However, I am aware of certain aspects. So, for a long time, Windows has had the ability to for clients to use um, DNS dynamic updates in order for the client to register with the DNS server, because back in the days when things moved away from NetBIOS naming to using DNS for naming. Well, in order for a Windows domain to work properly, it's important that Active Directory has a view on what names are associated to what client IP addresses. So consequently, clients will register with the DNS servers. Now, that is, I think, as far as I'm aware, by default, that is authenticated. So if the client goes to the DNS server and says, "Oh, look, I'm a client," the DNS server won't accept that update unless the client authenticates. However, there is a way around this, which is the core of this particular article from Akamai. If you use your DHCP server in order to deal with things above and beyond just giving out an IP address, which is, DHCP can do many things. One of the things that can happen through that is that the client can ask the DHCP server to register on its behalf. That method is not authenticated. So the DHCP server doesn't authenticate the client, but the DHCP server will update the DNS server. The DNS server will see that the update request comes from an authenticated client, i.e. the DHCP server. So watch out for that, because being able to make changes to DNS is a very useful technique from an attacker's perspective. There's all sorts of naughty stuff you can get up to if you're messing about with DNS records, from just hiding yourself through to putting in place, directing clients to malicious devices or devices under your control or whatever it might be. Through manipulating DNS. So there are there are some options that you can change within Active Directory, which will mitigate some of this stuff. There is more details in this article than I can really go through here, so I would recommend, if you are using Microsoft's DHCP and DNS servers, which a lot of organizations are, if you are Active Directory, if your LDAP directory is Active Directory, then it is definitely worth having a read of this article and having a look at some of the things that you can change in order to mitigate some of these risks. It is makes a very interesting read indeed. Well, that's all from me for today. I hope you have a good Monday and a good start to the week, and